OBJ to the Ravens. 1 year worth up to $18 million. I think it was like 14 something guaranteed. Almost 15 actually, guaranteed for sure. To me, it feels a little bit desperate, I have to say. I'm going to be honest with you. Didn't play all last year, right? Sat out after the ACL injury in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying it would have been easy to come back, but it was like kind of odd how he sat out. He's coming back only if it's for the playoffs. And meanwhile, a bunch of teams that were very viable making playoff pushes that could have used a number 2, number 3 receiver said, no, we're good, right? Like, we're good. So it's weird circumstance about him not playing, right? So let's think about what are the cardinal arguments against Lamar right now, why he hasn't gotten the deal that he thinks he deserves from the Ravens, or from anybody for that matter, but from the Ravens specifically. Number one, durability. He's played 1 out of 11 January and December games in the last 2 years. That's a problem. When it matters most, he hasn't been there. So let's be real. That's an issue. Number 2, I would say the whole agent thing, it's just a little bit noisy, right? It's nothing overly problematic, but it's just noisy. Same thing with Odell. I'm not saying, and actually in the last couple stops he's been in, I have to say in Cleveland, he was not that bad. I'm not saying he was great for the locker room, but at the end of the day, I would say Baker, the whole Freddie Kitchens issue, the Browns organization as a whole were much more chaotic than OBJ. I don't think he added to it. But he doesn't help himself. He's a little bit noisy as well. Right, so Lamar's noisy, OBJ's noisy, right? Interesting. What's the third thing with Lamar? Too much money, right? A little bit too expensive given the other circumstances. You look at OBJ, the move to sign him goes against all 3 of those quote-unquote values set by the Ravens. They said durability. By us not giving Lamar that guaranteed salary, we value durability. Well, no, you don't. You just gave, $14.5 million guaranteed, up to 18 for a number 2 receiver that didn't even play last year? Huh. Clearly durability is not that important then. How about noise? Like I already said, OBJ in the locker room with, in New York wasn't very pretty. I'm not saying that he was the entire problem in Cleveland, but I mean his dad releasing footage and talking a little stick on Baker, and with the Rams he was actually pretty good. So they're both a little bit noisy. And then finally, the money. $14.5 million. $14.5 million. That's a lot of money. And another move actually contradicts the third value that they've said as well. You just paid top dollar for a linebacker. So you're trying to tell Lamar, hey, we don't have the facilities to give you a fully guaranteed contract like that and still field a team around you. Well, you're saying you value like the money and a balanced salary cap, but you just overpaid for a linebacker and a number 2 aging, often hurt receiver who's a little bit noisy? It doesn't make a ton of sense to me at all. I mean, it feels directionless, but there's only one benefit to it. And Lamar Jackson told you straight up, if you've watched his social media, only thing that you need to worry about reporting-wise about anything regarding me is my social media and my Twitter. That's where you'll get the truth. Okay, well, his Instagram hit him and OBJ FaceTiming. They looked pretty pumped to be boys. Looked pretty pumped to be teammates. That's the only thing this move does. It brings Lamar back to the table. That's it. Doesn't even guarantee a contract. It gets Lamar interested. Maybe makes a couple concessions. Maybe. No, I don't think he really should. I think somebody's going to give him closer to what he deserves than I think the Ravens will. I don't think an aging number 2 receiver who's noisy and not super durable is gonna be a deal breaker or a deal maker for Lamar. But that's the only thing it does. It gives them a fighting chance to re-sign Lamar Jackson. The move itself, from a value standpoint, from a professional standpoint, from a money standpoint, it doesn't make a ton of sense whatsoever. Again, I said it feels directionless. It feels a little bit desperate. I don't like the move for Baltimore. I don't think it pans out. Maybe it brings Lamar back to the table. Maybe they get a contract done, but that is far from a guarantee. That's my thoughts on the situation. What do you think?
I'm right there with you. It's desperate, but to the max. You're thinking about, you're bringing a 31-year-old receiver. 31.
Is he 31? Yeah.
He's 31 years old.
I knew he was low 30s.
He is so far out of his prime, it's not even funny. and you're
About
going to pay
4 years, 3 4 years.
but it doesn't make sense. It doesn't align with anything like you're saying. So they want to save money. They don't want to pay all that guaranteed money to Lamar, but they're going to dish it out to a linebacker. They're going to throw it at OBJ. And if that is seriously the best offer that they can bring to Lamar, I don't know why he would even entertain that. Lamar, I feel like on the open market, sure, we don't have any like confirmed reports because he doesn't have an agent of anybody that he's really spoken to or talked with.
Right.
Which is weird, as we've alluded to many points in the last couple of weeks.
For sure.
But I just don't think that this solves anything. I don't. This does not solve a single one of the Ravens' issues. The Ravens have a laundry list of things that if they fix, they could actually be a viable like Super Bowl contending team.
Number one is Lamar Jackson.
Number one is Lamar.
There's other things though, and I would say.
And if it costs you,
what about the draft?
If it costs you this much money just to get Lamar back, he's not worth.
They're in the low 20s. Why wouldn't you just go draft a guy? You're gonna overpay for OBJ, Jackson Smith and Jigba. I doubt he'll be around.
They're gonna
you could go to Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers.
They're gonna be bleeding money from the gills though. Like
I don't like.
You
it
can't
at
just
all.
keep tossing that around. And like you have to find somebody for that price that's going to add consistent value, that's reliable, that can be counted on every single week of the season.
There's just better options in the market. To be quite frank,
there's better rookies coming out of the league.
I mean, D-Hop is actively getting shopped, and you go for OBJ for up to $18 million. D-Hop's only what, 22, 23 million? Not saying that's not a lot, but compared, I'd pay the extra $5 million tomorrow. $6 million, whatever it is, extra.
I didn't think that's where the receiver market was today, but whoever see, that's why you get yourself an agent, ladies and gentlemen. That's why you go out. If Lamar Jackson, if you have stumbled across this video, that's why you go get an agent, because that's what happens. Your agent gets you a deal that you shouldn't even sniff.
I would agree.
OBJ's agent should get a little bit of a pay upgrade.
Upgrade. Yeah. I agree. A little pay raise for him. Let's go ahead and go to hits and misses because we kind of deserve a pay